7.
They got to get their coffee. I know, right?
We need one more. And can we start off with a roll call? Ms. Pacina, please.
Good morning, Commission. District 1. District 1. District 2.
District 2 present.
District 3.
Present.
District 4. District 4. District 5. Chair Shadid. District 6. District 6. District 7. District 8.
Present.
District 9.
District 9 is present.
District 10.
Present.
District 11 vacant. District 12. District 12. District 13.
Present.
And District 14.
She's in the back.
Place 15.
She is in the room.
Chair, you have quorum.
Thank you very much, Ms. Pacina. Good morning, Commissioners. Today is Thursday, October 13, 2022, 9:06 a.m. Welcome to the Dallas City Plan Commission. This is the briefing. Commissioners, as you know, this is a time for the Commission to ask questions of staff. And I see that Ms. Carrasco is here and ready to go. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. Let me share my screen. Everybody can see the PowerPoint?
We can.
Okay, good. Okay, first item today is M212040. It is a request to amend an existing site plan for specific use permit number 1526 on our property zone R-7.5 single-family residential located on the southwest corner of Abrams Road and Kenwood Avenue. The applicant is St. Thomas Aquinas Catholic School, and the area of request being amended is 10,609 square feet. Okay, on October 8th, 2020, the City Council approved a site plan for SUP 1526 for a building at 127,376 square feet of total floor area. The request is to allow for the construction of, let me move this, a cover over the existing bleachers near the field area. No changes are being made to the existing number of classrooms, floor area, parking, or traffic operations. Okay, the general location of SUP 1526, zoning map, aerial view. Okay, and this is the proposed SUP site plan and the enlargement showing the existing bleachers, which will be covered. Existing SUP site plan enlarged, and staff is recommending approval.
Yes. Questions, Commissioners? Any questions on this item for Ms. Carrasco? No questions. Thank you very much. Commissioners, we'll move on to case number 2. Let the record reflect that Commissioner Rubin has a conflict on this item and is stepping out of the chamber. Ms. Seaton, good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. This case is D-212-012. This is an application for development and a landscape plan for a mixed-use development in Planned Development District 741, Subarea A. It's 23.36 acres. It's on the northwest of Olympus Boulevard and Stampede Lane. It's in the Cypress Waters Edition. The name of the development will be the August Hill Apartments in District 6. They are seeking approval of a development plan and landscape plan on undeveloped land. And the development plan will have 1, 2, and 3-story structures with a leasing office, a fitness center, a clubhouse, and 2-story parking structure with surface parking. The landscaping shall be provided in accordance with the ordinance. It is located on our northern section of Dallas. This is the surrounding area of the site that we've had several other cases regarding, and this is regarding the Phase 2. This is the aerial map and the zoning map. And this is a proposed development plan and the proposed landscape plan. There is only an existing concept plan, and they are allowed to do each development as they come in. And staff is recommending approval.
Thank you very much. Ms. Eaton, questions, Commissioners? Okay, no questions. Thank you. Let the record reflect that Vice Chair Rubin is stepping back in the chamber. Mr. Poole, quick question for you. Do we have any commissioners online? No? Okay, just to know. Next case, number 3, please.
Next case is D212017. This is an application for development and a landscape plan also for a multifamily in the Planned Development District 811, subareas B, C, and D. This is 11.76 acres. It's on the southwest corner of Colorado Boulevard and Interstate 30 in District 3. They are seeking development plan and landscape plan approval for undeveloped land on a portion of sub-areas B, C, and D, and they will have multifamily development consisting of 3-story multifamily structures, a leasing office, a clubhouse, a pool, amenity areas, a dog park, and surface parking. The landscape adheres to the ordinance. This is located just outside of the downtown area off of I-30. And this is the aerial map, the zoning map, and the proposed development plan, the proposed landscape plan. And again, this is on existing concept plan, under existing concept plan. And staff is recommending approval.
Questions, Commissioners?
I do have,
Please.
very
Have a
simple.
seat.
And this is just for my educational purposes. On the landscaping plan, I know it says it adheres to the landscaping plan. Are there any rules about the maintenance long-term in terms of making sure that it continues to adhere to the landscaping plans?
Yes, all of our ordinances do have some type of clause in it that says they have to maintain.
And how is it monitored or or checked? Is it just code?
I'll have to refer to our arborist.
Good morning, Mr. Yes, we're in the green chart, yes.
Out here just in time. Phil Irwin, Chief Arborist Development Services. Yes, general maintenance provisions under Article 10 require landscaping, and also planned developments generally have a general requirement. The enforcement would come under my office, where we would, if we determine there is a landscaping that's installed that is deficient, we can provide a notice of violation. They would be required to bring it back to code within 90 days.
And typically that's it, only if it's reported, usually.
Typically, it's a responsive
Got it.
issue.
All right, thank you, sir.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Standard, please.
Yes, I have an equally educational thing, because when I look at this and it's called a development plan, it's a huge development. So how does that work? I mean, are all the underlying requirements in the PD, and this is following it, this huge development?
Yes, they meet all the requirements as required of the PD, and it has been evaluated by staff. That includes building inspection, arborist, includes transportation. So everyone has looked at this development plan as well.
Okay, so you can have a development plan that involves numerous buildings in a big development like this. This is just the first time I've seen one this extensive as a development plan. Usually we get one building, so to speak, so I was just curious. Thanks.
Questions, Commissioners? Commissioner Carpenter?
Yes, I had a question about the open space. It may just be my eyes, but it looked like the open space is separated from the development area by a retaining wall. Is the open space accessible to the residents, or is this one of those canyons where the open space is really not safe?
This is one of those areas that has a lot of canyon-style elevation, but that's also what they're building according to it, so they would also have scenic areas and stuff. And the open space, it looks like they will not be accessible to like people just to run out there and stuff. There is a fence around it, and then also with the retaining walls, there's usually some type of barrier, and I think on the north side there is, I know that, and on the south side, it's kind of steep.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Carpenter. Any other questions? And obviously, Commissioner Carpenter did join us today at 9:12 a.m. Any other questions? Okay, Commissioners, next item. Thank you, Ms. Eaton. I see that Mr. Pepia is online, Commissioners. At this time, all cases are on consent, except 7, 8, and 9 have come off consent. So number 4 at this moment is still on the consent agenda. Mr. Pepe, good morning.
If you can't hear me, I'll fix it.
We can't hear you. Well, now it muted. We cannot
If you can't hear me,
you.
I'll switch. Okay.
I think I just heard you. Yes, thank you. Good morning.
Trouble first thing in the morning when we're still adjusting the levels. So we just got to work through it. There we go. So stop me if you cannot hear me. Okay, this is Z212201. It's an application for a new subdistrict within Plan Development District 160 on property zone tract 1B within Plan Development District number 160 in the north line of Natchez between Cedar Hill Avenue and Woodlawn Avenue. Area of request is 2,599 square feet, located in Oak Cliff. Here's the site as it stands by aerials. It's an undeveloped lot. The area is mixed residential, and what we mean by that is there are duplexes, there are triplexes, and there are single family. It can be hard to determine each one individually, but I can give a more detailed breakdown if desired from visiting the site. And then there's strictly single family to the west. So the site is currently undeveloped. The property is zoned tract 1B within Plan Development District number 160 and uses R7.5 as a base. The PD was approved on September 21, 1983, and has been amended 3 times subsequently. The size of the PED is approximately 133 acres, and it's divided into 6 subdistricts. The property consists of a lot that is undersized for the minimum size set by PED 160, and was previously developed as housing in a similar pattern to the duplex to the east. The applicant is requesting to amend PED 160 to reduce the minimum lot size only for this lot and subdistrict to 2,500 square feet, such that the property can be developed. And they are proposing to develop that property as a single-family use, and that would be the only allowable main use, primary use in the resultant subdistrict. So here is signed. It's undeveloped at this time. View from the sidewalk. That's the site once more from across the street and the alley adjacent to it. And then the duplexes that are located to the east, single family to the west immediately, and down Nache Street, and across the street there's some mixed residential, and down the alley across from this property and farther east. For this, for the PD existing and the proposed subdistrict, they keep much of it similar. They do have a higher lot coverage, but that accounts for the size of the small lot to make it usable. And they lowered the lot size minimum to make this one come into compliance to be developable. Approval subject to conditions. Do I have any questions?
Thank you. Questions, Commissioner Young?
Yes, Mr. Pepe, I'm curious about how we got to this point. Is this a platted lot? I'm sorry, you're muted.
Fully platted lot.
I'm sorry.
Can you hear me now?
It is not platted, but will be platted? You're muted again.
If they need.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch your answer.
Can you hear me now?
Faintly, yes.
Switched it up. Okay, so yes, so I don't know if they will be required to plat, but I understand that it is a lot fragment at this time, not a full lot currently.
Well, I'm confused. Was it one? It was once then part of a larger lot, and would that be the lot to the west?
I believe it was currently part, or was previously part of a larger lot, being the lot to the west, but it was developed independently at that.
Okay. I guess what I'm still curious as to how the lot to the west was allowed to be platted such as to create an unbuildable remainder. Our normal subdivision rules prohibit that. I take it that the subject property and the lot to the west are not currently under common ownership. Is that correct?
No, they're not.
Do you know if they were previously under common ownership?
Based on the way that the fencing was built out, it looks like they might have in recent years been under common ownership, but then farther back, historically, they were separate. They were developed separately.
Do you have any concern about the precedent of allowing someone to carve off a portion of a lot that is below the minimum lot size and then seek zoning to permit development on that lot?
I think in this case, well, it certainly doesn't set a precedent. We look at each lot individually. But in the situation of this case, the pattern would be consistent with lots to the east, the lot size, the pattern, and bringing this into the development being redeveloped once more would kind of reestablish the pattern. So I don't see any harm in that, and it enhances the pattern in the neighborhood.
Thank you.
Let's take this case off consent agenda, commissioners. And we'll keep moving. Case number 5. Oh, I'm sorry. Pardon me, Commissioner Housewright. My apologies.
Mr. Pepe, in your remarks, did you not say that this lot had been previously developed and then the structure demolished? Did I understand that correctly?
That is correct.
Can you give us a little more on that? Was it a duplex, a single family? When was it torn down?
I do not know when it was torn down. So the information regarding it being a structure is based off of historic imagery. And at some point in the past 30 years, there's not a home there anymore. I would venture to bet it was a duplex because it was built out identically to the 3 properties to the east. Which are duplexes at this time. And so it was a pattern of 1, 2, 3, 4 duplexes before then. And this was the 4th one. So it's safe to assume it was a duplex in the similar pattern. But at some point in the 30, 40 years previous, it disappeared.
And when that duplex existed, would the lot have been the same size and configuration as being proposed today, or do you know?
That's my understanding, that it hadn't changed.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other questions? Okay, now we will go to case number 5, Mr. Pepe.
Okay. Item 5 is Z212221. This is an application for Plan Development District for MU1 Mixed Use District and for the termination of deed restrictions on property zoned CR Community Retail District and deed restrictions Z156289, located on the west corner of South Beltline Road and Garden Grove Drive. It's approximately 2.3 acres. This is the location of the subject property in the southeast. And this is the aerial map as it exists today. It's an undeveloped property with retail developed across the street of Beltline and a single family subdivision behind. So currently the properties to the north and northeast are undeveloped. There's that retail to the southeast, an undeveloped lot to the south, and single family to the west and northwest. It is undeveloped at this time, and the applicant is requesting to create a new PD in order to allow multifamily use and still provide design standards. And they would use MU1 as a base. The applicant is proposing a development plan with a 3-story mixed-use structure with ground floor retail and upper floor residential units. The PD would limit the use to a total of 44 multifamily units. And the deed restrictions were approved in 2017, as volunteered by the applicant at that time in conjunction with a zoning case to change it to CR Community Retail District. The existing deed restrictions were put in place to allow the property to be rezoned to CR while prohibiting certain uses with those in the CR. The applicant is proposing to terminate those existing deed restrictions and incorporate some of those concepts into the PD itself. So here's the property as it exists right now. You can see it's undeveloped. And this is Beltline Road we're looking across. And that's farther west on Beltline, the property. And this is on Garden Grove, looking southwest from Garden Grove and farther up towards the subdivision and more closer to the lot. Then this is the reverse corner of the lot. And this is the retail that's built out across the street. And more down Beltline, also up at Beltline and Garden Grove. And that's farther south on Garden Grove. Here's the development plan as they proposed it today. So you can see the building located close to Beltline and close to Garden Grove, with surface parking behind, as well as some small individual garages where parking would occur indoors. And then they have a landscape buffer that is located on the west and the northwest of the site, in part to replace the deed restrictions, which called for a buffer. And they currently have a landscape plan proposed as such, and it mirrors the development plan. So based on the development standards they're proposing, so they've taken MU1 and modified it. They would typically have a 15-foot front setback along Garden Grove and Beltline. With no maximum. They proposed having a maximum as an added benefit, and they have proposed a 15-foot side setback on the sides, and they will have a limited height to 41 feet or 3 stories, and they maintain the lot coverage, or they don't speak to lot coverage within the PD. And then the first floor transparency is an added standard that would be 50%. And then they also still observe RPS. They maintain that they will not have flat roof, so they would have sloped roof on the sides. And then they have variations in facade plane and color texture on the facade itself. The only proposed, or the only main uses permitted would be these listed here. There are some uses similar to CR or NS, but they don't add in many uses besides those that were in the deed restriction. So this further limits the district in terms of uses, but it does add in the multifamily use that was not present on the site beforehand. And here are those existing deed restrictions, which essentially said the following uses are prohibited, which as they would normally be permitted in some degree in CR. And they also they called for a 5-foot landscape buffer along the northeast and a 3-foot along the west. And so those are the deed restrictions they'd be terminating, replacing with conditions in a PD. And just here are those urban design standards we spoke to briefly, but we did touch on each of those. And then they'd be required at least a 6-foot unobstructed sidewalk along Garden Grove and Beltline. They'd be required sidewalks of a varying color at the driveways, and they'd be encouraged to be continuous and level across driveway and curb cuts. Staff recommendation is approval subject to a development plan, a landscape plan, and conditions. I had some discussion with the commissioner about making sure that they meet the Article 10 standard that they are held to by the PD. So we may have some discussion by the applicant of a alternate change to the PD to accommodate that and make that work. Thank you.
Questions, commissioners? Commissioner Carpenter.
Yes, I had a question for Mr. Irwin. Good morning. Trying to keep in mind, what our goals are with trying to prevent heat island effect and preserve the tree canopy. I noticed on this particular landscape plan that the perimeter trees were, that they weren't large canopy trees. Is there something about the utility situation at this particular site that's preventing canopy trees?
No, actually, Article 10 does allow large or medium trees in that environment. So what they chose on the plan was the Chinese pistache, which falls within our medium tree in the approved tree list.
Okay, so even though there are none of the trees that were on the plan that we saw are considered to be large canopy trees, that's still compliant with the revised Article 10?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Commissioner Young.
For Mr. Pepe, am I correct that since the applicant did not request removal of the D1 overlay, and it doesn't appear on our agenda, that the D1 overlay will remain regardless of what we do on this case?
That's correct, because it is an overlay and we're not modifying it, it remains.
Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Chair Rubin.
Yes, Mr. Rubin, I had a question about the parking on this one. It says for a mixed-use project, there's a minimum of 72 off-street parking places required for multifamily as shown on the development plan. And right now, the applicant's intent or maximum number of units that the applicant could build is 44. But let's just say that for whatever reason, and I hope this doesn't happen, the applicant instead decides to build 30. Would they still be required to build all 72 parking spaces because they're providing multifamily and mixed use?
72 would be the minimum they'd have to build. So you're correct that it wouldn't scale to a smaller multifamily component if they did less multifamily. But keep in mind, the commercial component is not held to that. So potentially they could lessen their commercial component provided if they did less than the maximum units based on how it's written right now.
But if they did build out the 44 units and there were a ratio of 1.64 spaces per dwelling unit, then you'd get to the full 72, right?
Could you say that again? 1.62 per dwelling unit?
1.64. That's what you've listed in your ratio in your report as the ratio.
Right.
Based on, okay.
That is the ratio, but you're correct. It's not tagged to a ratio. It's
Okay.
tagged to a total. But they could potentially reduce their commercial component, which consists currently of 50. So that would be scalable.
But that's solely based on the commercial square footage. It wouldn't vary based on the number of dwelling units, right? That's
But
scalable.
the amount that they provide could lessen
Okay.
based on how the PD is written. So they would still have the floor of 72 based on the multifamily as it's written, but the commercial component could, the amount that's extra on the 72 is to account for the commercial component. And so they could scale that down and be less overparked if they did a smaller development.
Okay. Thank you.
Commissioner Blair.
Mr. Pepe, if they build less than 44 dwelling units, then wouldn't they not have to come back before us with a new development plan?
That's, let me think about that. I believe it would be a minor amendment if they did less units, so it wouldn't be back for a full amendment.
That's what I'm looking. That's right, thank you. And then the parking is, I know it's a little higher than what staff usually likes to put in, but is it not correct that this particular area has no mass transit in order to accommodate walk to transit?
There are not transit routes here at this time, correct?
Thank you. Commissioner Hampton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Pepe, just two questions. Are there any requirements or any discussion in the proposed conditions requiring individual entries? That seems to be the intent of the development plan, but I didn't see it in the conditions.
It's not written in for individual entries, and that could be to provide them some flexibility where they want to put their retail uses as well. Because remember, this is going to have a retail portion on the bottom as well. So they might want to have some distance perhaps between those individual entries, if there were individual entries and the commercial component. And so this would maybe provide them the flexibility to do so. But they are looking to have balconies and things like that that are activating the space. But it likely would give them some kind of balance with their retail ground floor component that way.
Okay, and then one final question related to how this is, the site is laid out relative to the adjacent residential, and I'm going to use north and south kind of generally, but the setbacks that are proposed at 15 feet, is it correct that it's a rear setback on the adjacent property, so it won't be encroaching into any required side yards or front yards on those properties, or rear yards, I think if I'm reading it correctly?
It will be a side yard. So there's not a rear yard on our property here, since it has a frontage on our right and frontage to the south on this image. So they're going to be side yards, but the side yard is 15 feet.
Correct, but there's no building that will encroach on the adjacent residential. In other words, you're not going to have a building in front of one of the adjacent residences. Is that correct?
No.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Dr. Rudra.
So sorry, to go back to Commissioner Blair's question, I need to make a clarification. If they change the number of parking spaces that are provided on the development plan and it's less than 72, they will need to come back for a full amendment to also amend the text.
Yes, that's right.
Thank you for the clarification. Any other questions, commissioners? Okay, we'll keep moving. Stay in South Dallas, District 7, case number 6.
Item number 6 is Z212223. And that is an application for a new tract in subarea 2 within Plan Development District number 363, the Jeffrey Myers Plan Development District on property zone subarea 1 within Plan Development District 363, the Jeffrey Myers Plan Development District on south corner of Myers Street and Oak Street. And it's 14,857 square feet. And here's the relative location of the property. And here's the aerial image of the property within the surrounding area in the subdistrict or sub-area. So to the northeast, there's multifamily. To the east, there is undeveloped property and multifamily. To the southeast is undeveloped, and to the south is undeveloped, but there is multifamily to the southwest. And to the northwest is the DART operations facility grounds. So the site is currently undeveloped and is located within PD 363. And PD 363 was adopted in 1992 and has since been amended once. The PD consists of 42.74 acres in 4 subareas. The applicant is requesting to rezone the lot from subarea 1 to subarea 2 without modification to subarea text. The property is planned to be developed as 4 units each on 2 lots, 8 units total within 1 multifamily development. PD 363 subarea 1 does not default to a base zoning district, but essentially functions as a residential district that allows single family, duplex, and retirement housing uses by right, and also allows non-conforming residential uses such as multifamily to remain in place. PDC 363 subarea 2 functions similarly to subarea 1, but also adds in that multifamily use as a by right use, rather than remaining in place, such as in subarea 1. So here is the site as it stands today, undeveloped. Then this is looking more southwest towards the site as it exists on Meyer. You can see multifamily to the west, excuse me, to the left of the image. And then this is surrounding use behind this site and multifamily. And this is across the street on Oak, one undeveloped property and the DART operations facility. That's multifamily to the east, undeveloped to the east, and a multifamily property as well. This is across Oak at the DART operations facility. And then that's the multifamily located behind the property. So they do not modify the development standards by any means. They're just reclassifying from subarea 1 to subarea 2. But that will maintain the front 15-foot setback, the 10-foot rear setback for multifamily. It will add in the density limitation for multifamily uses and maintain the 36-foot height, 60% lot coverage, and the application of RPS will remain as well. And staff recommendation is approval subject to a revised Exhibit 363A.
Thank you, Mr. Pepe. Questions? Okay, no questions. Commissioners, the next item, case number 7, is going to be held under advisement till November 3rd. And we will brief it then. I think there are some questions in regards to the time period. We can take those questions now or have them in relation to the next case. It's up to you. Next case, let's do that. Good morning, Ms. Aguirre.
Good morning. Let me make this shorter to match my stature. I feel so tall now. No short people jokes. Just kidding. What's that?
I've been on the butt end of a couple of those short jokes, so I understand.
Good morning, Jennifer Allgaier, Senior Planner, Planning and Planning and Urban Design? Yeah. I understand that there are some questions about the case I'm about to brief. I've had some great conversations with Commissioner Stannard already and have added a few things into the PowerPoint to start to address what some of your questions may be. However, I will note that staff will be briefing the commission on, is it November 3rd, whatever that first date is in November, regarding some things that are going on with schools and how they're handled in the development code, and just some meetings that we've been having to try to streamline the process and just to update things in general. So that briefing is coming. It will be much more detailed than what I'm adding to the PowerPoint here, but I'll give you a little bit of a start. So, Mr. Poole has kicked me out of the meeting. me try this again. Okay, this is Z212228. It is an application for a specific use permit for a public school other than an open enrollment charter school on property zoned in R10A Single Family District, located on the west line of Sonnet Drive between Flair Drive and Dartmoor Drive, approximately 7 1/3 acres. Located in District 13. The aerial map will basically show you that the block that the school site is contained on is, half of it belongs to the district, the other half of it belongs to City of Dallas. It's a public park, and then surrounded completely by single-family development in R10A. The request site, as I said, is zoned R10A, and it is currently developed with an existing elementary school, public elementary school, DeGoyer, which has been at the location since 1959, and the property does have an approved preliminary plat. The original application was for a new PD. However, the application was amended to a request for an SUP. Basically, staff has been meeting with particularly DISD at this point, just because they have about 20-something cases in at this point because of the bond program. But as other schools come in, public, private, whatever, they will also be brought into the conversation, and we'll be having these same analyses done. So one of the things that we've asked the applicant to do is take a look at the application and the reasons that they're requesting a planned development district. As you know, we have a couple of those in the city, maybe 1,100 or so, give or take right now. And I did a quick but not completely thorough search of those PDs yesterday to look at how many of those were specifically done for a school of some type. At this point, I'm at about 200 of those. So we're looking at approaching 20% of the planned development districts that we have been created for schools of some type, and I think that number is going to grow. The initial if not, why not analysis for this particular school is shown up on the screen. And basically, we asked the applicant to look at their school and their proposed design with respect to the two other code-allowed means for authorizing a school in the city of Dallas in these low-density residential areas. One of those is, of course, an SUP. It's written into the district standards that schools are able to be authorized by a specific use permit. The other method, which is not as well known, is an institutional overlay. It's not contained in any of the district regulations themselves. It's in one of those sections where you always see the code language that said this is to be read in conjunction with this other part. And then it fast forwards you to that location, and a lot of times you don't even get to this section that talks about an institutional overlay. But there's a whole section of development code excuse me. There's a whole section of the development code that talks about overlays such as historic overlays and D and D1 overlays and institutional overlays. So this is something that you're familiar with on just a general level, but it's something that gets placed on top of an existing property. It does not change the underlying zoning classification of the site, just like an SUP does not. It gets placed on top of the property and then allows, in this case, an institutional overlay allows certain specified uses, most of which are institutional uses, but some are other types of uses, office and retail personal service. but there's a specified list of uses in that institutional overlay section that says they may be authorized on a site that has an institutional overlay. So right now, one of the reasons we've not heard much about this is because that section of the code isn't really a workable option, hasn't been a workable option for schools. Apparently, they haven't used it. I don't know of a single location in the city that has this particular type of overlay. But here sits this kind of little hidden gem that staff has been working with the schools on, basically trying to figure out why doesn't it work and what would need to be changed in that section of the code in order to make it work so that this could be an option. And unlike a planned development district, like I said, an institutional overlay and an SUP do not change the underlying zoning classification of the site. So the school in an overlay or authorized by an SUP has to comply with the code for the district, the use, and then read in conjunction with other yard, lot, and space requirements. So for this particular site, the only issue that they identified at the initial phase was, we don't think we're going to be able to do the landscaping in a timely manner because we want to keep the existing school while we build the new one so that kids can stay on this site, continue to go to their home school rather than be kind of sent out to 3 or 4 different ones. And they didn't feel like they could meet the landscaping requirements in time, so they felt like they needed a PD for that reason. So part of the reason that staff is sitting down with these applicants and having them do this analysis is to say, okay, these are the things that you think are keeping you from complying with the code. Let me make sure that that's actually the case. And so in this case, you see that there is already a provision in the code that allows landscaping requirements to be delayed based on a couple of different options. So since that is an option in the code, and we discussed a few other things subsequently, but basically with some minor revisions to their initial proposal, they were able to amend the application to an SUP, comply with the underlying code, and here we are today. So development standards, what I've given you here is the development standards for R10A just generally, just straight from the code book. This is what it says in the district regs. And then below that, the development standards for this particular use, which as I said is an institutional use at this particular location in R10A. So in this particular case, the front yard is considered to be Flair Drive and Dartmoor Drive. That would get the front yard setback standard for R10A. And then the side yard would be the interior side yard adjacent to the park, and then the corner side yard at Sonnet Drive, and those would be required to have a 10-foot setback. In terms of height, this is one of those this is one of those read in conjunction with. There's a special provision in 4.400 of the development code that gives certain allowances for institutional and community service and utility type uses that allows extra height and lot coverage and so on and so forth. So because this school is located in an R district, and RPS is not typically required of lots in an R district, when the use is authorized by an SUP, RPS actually doesn't apply, and I know that that's something that everyone will be interested in because we'll want to make sure that we don't have 500-foot tall schools next to a single-story home. We get extra lot coverage just by virtue of being an institutional use, 60%, and so on and so forth. One of the things that we see commonly with schools is that they are needing, or they are thinking that they need a PD for a fence height, maybe in a front yard. So in these lower density residential districts, the maximum fence height in the front yard is 4 feet. Schools often want to come in with a 6-foot fence height. So the discussion has been, for example, you can lower it to 4 and keep it in that required setback area, or perhaps you can move it back out of the setback and go up to your 6-foot height. So some minor adjustments have been made, and again, here we are. So this is, I know, not very readable right here. I think it might be more easily read in the case report, but there are some staff boxes on here, some of which need to happen in order for this to be a compliant site plan, and others are just staff recommended language to clarify what needs to happen. I won't go into the details here because I know you've seen the case report, but certainly am happy to answer questions later if needed. There is a traffic management plan included as part of this application. There is some standard language that we have used for traffic management plans in PD ordinances and in SUP conditions. We've modified those a little bit. Also part of the process that is occurring right now, staff is meeting with professionals from various departments, mainly transportation, and we're going to bring in code compliance at the next meeting to discuss specifically traffic management plans, what needs to be in them to begin with, what needs to trigger them, what needs to trigger an update to a traffic management plan, how these things are going to be enforced, who's going to follow up, and so on and so forth. Because as I discussed with Commissioner Stannard the other day, I think we all are concerned about the traffic issues around schools, and then I hear things around the Horseshoe too about, you know, I don't want to name any commercial uses in particular, but certain maybe retail uses that have a drive-through that, you know, the cars wrap around, you know, 2 city blocks and so on and so forth. So those things get the same, well, not the same, there's a different type of traffic study, but they also get traffic studies and they get traffic management plans. And there really is no follow-up on those because once they get permitted, that's it. They get permitted based on that traffic management plan. And there's not even any requirement that they resubmit written anywhere. At least in the language we have for schools, we do have the language in there that requires an initial traffic study to assess whether the first TMP is actually working, and then required updates every 2 years. Now, one of the things also that we've discussed with schools is that there has not always been excellent follow-through on submittal of those traffic studies. I think I said that well, right? That was very kind.
Did you work on that phrasing for a while?
No. So there has not always been excellent follow-through, and we would all like better follow-through. So we've added some language to the standard traffic management plan language, borrowed it from kind of something that was already in the language and then added it to another section. So just briefly to describe that, the standard language right now would say, if we determine that a new traffic management plan is required and the applicant doesn't submit that within 30 days, then we're going to tattle to the City Plan Commission on you. So but that's already been in there, but it's only been in there on the traffic management plan itself if they don't submit it in 30 days. I think one of the big problems is that there's nothing, the traffic management plan only gets triggered based on a traffic study that gets submitted every couple of years. And if those traffic studies aren't getting submitted every couple of years, there's nothing to look at for us to then say, oh, your traffic management plan is not working, we need you to do another one. So what we did is we added that language about tattling to CPC, and I say that with all the love, tattling to CPC, not just if you don't give us the updated TMP in 30 days, but if you don't actually submit your traffic studies, the initial one when it's due, and then in the regular intervals when those updates are due. So that is a start. It's not the end. It's not where we're going to end up, but it's a start to try to sort of beef up and encourage better follow through on those traffic studies. And kind of the overarching reason for a lot of these conversations is, if I may take a moment here. So you may or may not remember that I came to Planning and Urban Design from what is now Development Services. I was a zoning field inspector for a couple of years, and I was in the office reviewing commercial permit plans with respect to zoning for a couple of years before I came over here. That is sort of the other side of the pond from where I am now. And one of the biggest adjustments that I have had to make and am still making is switching the mindset from implementation of things that have been approved, like looking at the development code, looking at this permit application and saying, does this comply with the standards that have been created and that exist in the code? That was what I did there. That's not what I do here. So what I do here is on the other side. We're writing the code and we're putting the things in place that the folks on the other side of the pond are going to then interpret when permit applications come in. There's a big difference, a fundamental difference is that side could reasonably be called enforcement of the code to a degree, not as much as like code compliance that goes after it's been built. But they're enforcing the code, they're implementing the code. That's not what we do over here. And the first staff review, my colleagues will laugh with me when we recall it. It looked like a zoning plan review for a commercial project in Q-Team. That's what it looked like. And it completely missed the mark. Like that's, again, not what I do here. So I was focusing on things, just because that's where my mindset was, I was focusing on things that were not correctly in the wheelhouse here. So part of what these discussions are, and part of these internal meetings and process changes are trying to accomplish is separating out functions that zoning staff on this side have kind of taken on, but are really not part of our mandate. It's not part of what we do. So, and I'm completely open to any and all questions and conversations. Like I said, Commissioner Stanton and I had a long couple of conversations, totally fine. It's gonna take me a long time to kind of get a grasp on where that fine line is, but that's where we're trying to head, is to sort of divorce the two functions and put the enforcement function in the appropriate place, which would be Transportation Department, code compliance, and so forth. And enforcement can be something just as simple as the follow-up on the code that we write and approve here. It's not anything more, sinister than that. Just we write it, we approve it, we look at this snapshot in time and say, does this, and the language in our development code for SUPs, for example, actually says it's going to be analyzed based on its probable impact on the surrounding uses and properties, right? So we're guessing. We're looking at this and saying, we think that this is going to work. We're approving it based on these conditions and this traffic management plan. We're good to go. We approve the SUP, and then it goes for permitting, and it goes on and lives happily ever after elsewhere. Enough of that. So, photos. Like I said, this is, it's surrounded by single family, so basically front of the school, and I'll just take you around a little bit so you can see conditions at the site. Single family surrounding. And then, like I said, there's the adjacent park to the west of the site, working our way around. This photograph shows you basically where the new school will be oriented. It's basically going to be built on the undeveloped side of the property, and then the school will be demolished. Single family, single family, single family. One of the things, I guess the only remaining item in the conditions that the applicant and staff are in disagreement on is the time limit for the SUP. The applicant is requesting no expiration date. Staff hopes that in the somewhat near future, we can get to the point where we have the processes in place where we can support no expiration. Fundamentally, I don't think anyone would disagree that schools belong in neighborhoods. We need to find a way for them to be good neighbors in those neighborhoods, and we need to make sure we have conditions in place that will support that. But right now, staff is recommending a time limit of 20 years with eligibility for automatic renewal for 20-year periods. The standard traffic management language starts item number 6 here. And the additional language that we've added is the yellow highlights A and B, indicating that if the property owner fails to submit the initial traffic study by March 1 of 2025, or the subsequent traffic studies, then City Plan Commission would be notified of that. The rest of this is all standard language. And then this blue highlight is language that's already been in our standard traffic management plan language. This has already been here, like I said, for the 30 days to submit the new traffic management plan. And we borrowed that language and just said, we need you to get the initial studies to us in a timely manner. And as I said, staff is recommending approval for a 20-year period with eligibility for automatic renewal for additional 20-year periods, subject to a revised site plan, a traffic management plan, and staff's recommended conditions. And with that, what do you got?
We're ready for questions, Commissioner Stannard.
Yes, thank you for
Yes,
that. You explained it well. And for all transparency, I have had extensive conversations with the DISD rep, Carl Crawley, and with you, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And just for everyone else, I'm sure you know this, but I have so many schools in my district. But a lot of this has come about, is this correct, Jennifer? Because with the 2020 bond, there's a lot of rehabbing of schools, building new buildings, additions, et cetera. And because these schools were built so long ago, there wasn't underlying zoning or SUPs in effect then. So many of them, when they come now to put in their application to build in order to get permits, that's why they're having to apply for either SUPs or PDs, correct?
Right. They were authorized under the code in force at the time, but the current development code that we have, they're having to basically catch up with the current code.
And another thing you were trying to say that I heard you saying and we've discussed in detail is we're trying to move a bit away, unless it's absolutely necessary, with having schools doing PDs and sort of clogging the system that way and not being able to get going with their projects, and using the SUP format, and that it has offered enough flexibility so far in order to do that. Is that correct?
So I think that there has been, and in my meetings with DISD officials to this point, I think that somewhere along the lines, maybe a few decades ago possibly, it basically was decided for some reason that PDs were the way to go. I don't know what the reasoning was on that or not, but so schools generally from DISD have been designed, basically design what you need, and then we'll go get a PD for anything that doesn't meet the underlying code. And so typically those things, the standard kind of things would be, like I said, 6-foot fence in a front yard that wouldn't comply with the code, possibly putting parking in the front yard setback area, which is not permitted in a R district, which is where a lot of these are. It's escaping me right now. I know I listed off 3 or 4 different things, and they'll come to me.
But you found you've been able to accommodate those things pretty much through the SUP process?
Yes.
Okay.
At this point, we have, I think, 3 applications that have been amended from PD to SUP. Some of them I don't think are going to be able to be amended because they may be too far along in the design process.
Right.
This is from the applicant's perspective. My understanding of it is we came here and we're this far along in the design process. It would be a lot of time and money to back that up to make some of these things comply with the underlying base code to work in an SUP or an institutional overlay. So right now, maybe some that are farther along won't be able to be amended, but the hope is that now that they're understanding the shift in direction, that moving forward, they will look at complying with the code where the school will be located.
Well, and hopefully that'll happen. Okay, going to the issue that I brought up with both Mr. Crawley and with you, which is this, and it is sort of a conundrum, which is the reason I'm discussing it, and I hope that my colleagues will discuss it with me. It is this 20 and 20, and even DISD is saying, is this correct? They're saying that, well, DISD is public funds, we have the right to do this, and therefore we should have, once we get the SUP, there should be no renewal time. That's Mr. Crawley explained that, but I was just.
Yeah,
yes,
I think the city attorney could probably address that
Well, no,
a
I'm
little
just
bit
saying
better,
what
but-
DISD said. Okay. So given that, and you and I talked, and you just presented, and you said, and when we talked, when we have charter schools right now, and we have child care centers, what we do is we set time intervals so they come back, and we've seen in this body where because of having those SUP renewals, we've offered a forum here which makes whatever the entity is, whether it's DISD, a charter school, a child care center, that they have to be accountable. It causes accountability. And I want to ask you this. With the renewal, whether it's 10 years or 20 years, isn't there a process where because there's a renewal, someone goes out and does a site visit, sees if they're in compliance, et cetera, et cetera? Is that correct?
Well, so that, it's a great question. And the first staff review that I mentioned earlier in my presentation that I kind of botched because I was focused kind of in the wrong thing. I looked at it heavily. I looked at every single one of those SUP conditions, looking at, landscaping and just whatever it was. The site must be in a state of neat appearance and good repair and things like that. So this first site that I went out to, they had cracked curbs and like just debris, dirty diapers, everything across. So I'm looking at this going, well, that doesn't comply with the SUP conditions. And I brought all this to the staff review and was gently reminded that we're looking at the land use. And I know this is where we might have to kind of do a little back and forth fine tuning on the language here, but the land use, although, for example, traffic is very much a concern for how a school will act in the neighborhood. We're looking at it, and I think traffic studies, I think that the requirement to have it in the beginning is completely understandable because it's, I mean, it's going to affect the neighborhood. When we go out on a renewal, we're looking, yes, does it comply? And I guess in an auto renewal for this, presumably it would be checked if traffic studies have been submitted in a timely manner and so on. And if they haven't, the idea would be that they do not get an auto renewal, that then they would have to do the standard renewal process.
But it does, my point is,
Yes,
I'm just confirming this. My point is, it does implement, it makes something tick off that goes to that site and reviews, and I want to bring this up, under a specific use permit, it says it must promote the welfare of the area of request and the adjacent properties and not be detrimental to the general welfare, the public health and safety. So therefore, even though, and you and I debated this, we are not an enforcement agency, if you grant us SUP, a specific use, shouldn't there be, and isn't intrinsic in there, a reason to come back and say, give a public forum, are you being accountable? And to let someone know they need to be accountable. We don't enforce it, but we're bringing that accountability to the public and on a public forum, so then the appropriate departments can address those issues. So isn't that also a possibility as far as the time thing? Because I have an issue with this thing of saying, and even though I understand, and I have to say this, I haven't even said this, congratulations, Jennifer's sort of our de facto DISD school person. All the DS schools are going to Jennifer. So this is a bigger picture. This is a bigger picture. So my question is, do we just give DISD an SUP, a permit, and we never check on that permit to see they're upholding the welfare and the public safety, and there's a checks and balances? That would be my thing.
So can I respond to that a little bit? I think that the way that the development code talks about an SUP and the specific provision that you're referencing is talking about the reasons why City Council might not grant an SUP. So it's all talking about the initial, snapshot in time. We're looking at what they've proposed, what conditions have been put in place, and we're talking about whether we will grant the SUP or not grant the SUP. So that's the first thing, is it to be granted based on what's been proposed and the conditions that are in place. And like I said, the language also talks about the probable. We're having to do a little bit of looking into the future based on what's here and saying, what is the probability that this is going to be a good fit for the neighborhood, and based on the conditions that we've put in place and so on and so forth. Now, the part that, and I said this before, I 100% agree with the notion that anyone who gets a permit, any kind of permit, needs to be accountable, and particularly someone that's getting a specific use permit. There's conditions in place. In the case of schools, they're often right next to people's homes. And so, yes, there needs to be accountability to follow through with the conditions under which their SUP were granted. But I think the place where we're departing is and what we're working on is making sure that there is a forum for the residents in the area to be heard if things are not going according to plan. Also, I think I mentioned too that we're working on a way to get SUPs readily accessible to the community so that they know where they can go to see the traffic management plan, the SUP, and so forth. But that the follow through after we decide, actually after staff presents and you decide, after you decide and city council decides, is this something that should be granted, at that point, there needs to be other policies and procedures in place to follow through with.
Well, and I think that's your opinion, and I respect that. I have a different opinion because I believe it's like a driver's license. Yes, you issue a driver's license. It's a permit to drive. But it's not that you give it for the rest of your life and you never come back for any kind of renewal of that permit. And by the very word permit, it's permission to. And, you know, in my opinion, I do think there should be a 10 and 10. That would be my recommendation, but we're in the briefing session, so I'll pass.
Thank you.
So
Commissioner, please.
if I may, just briefly. So, and this is an analogy that we talked about in our conversation. Going back over to the permitting side, if someone has their SUP in hand and they go get a building permit from Development Services, similar to here, they're presenting a snapshot in time and saying, this is what we're proposing to build. And the folks over there will look at it and say, does it comply with the codes? And if it does, they issue the permit. Like, that's the end of their role. It then gets handed off. Once that permit gets issued by Development Services, it gets handed off to the next division within Development Services, which would be the field inspection offices. And those folks follow through as it's being constructed to make sure that it's being constructed according to the codes and according to what was approved. But once that green tag gets issued on the final inspection and they get their CO, they're no longer involved. It gets handed off to the next piece of the process because, I mean, especially in a city as large as ours, I mean, you know, you go to a smaller municipality and there may be a department that handles 15 of those pieces of the puzzle, but in a city as large as this one, it's necessarily divided. We're doing better at communicating with one another and trying to get processes streamlined, but it doesn't stay with any one place very long. It starts here, we do our part of it, and then it's handed off to the next. So I don't think there's any, let me scratch that. The development code doesn't indicate in any manner that it's understood that there will be a time limit on a specific use permit. It indicates that a time limit may be imposed, and that's completely at your discretion, at discretion of council. But it's not inherent in any permits as far as our municipality, in my knowledge of this process. It's not inherent that there would have to be any kind of coming back for until you try to build something new, right?
Thank you. Commissioner Young.
Yes, first of all, congratulations, Ms. Algair. I think that was an excellent briefing, opened up a whole lot of vistas that I don't think we had looked into before. I'm not going to ask you which is the dark side of the force.
I definitely have opinions about that.
And I'm not going to ask you what bad thing you did that got you assigned all the public schools.
Public and private.
Public
charter,
and private,
everything.
even worse. Okay, and someday we'll have a discussion in general about this division between enforcement and approval. But what I want to focus on today is height, not only on this case, but in general. When we approve an SUP, we have the 4 criteria that we can all recite in our sleep. And the main function of the conditions on the SUP is to put in place things that will assure us that the 4 criteria are met. Yes, this meets the 4 criteria, but only if you don't have outdoor speakers. Yes, this meets the 4 criteria, but only if you shut off the lights at 10 p.m. or whatever it may be. So my question for you is, and this is a particularly good case to illustrate this, why wouldn't it be within our prerogative to say, yes, this meets the 4 criteria, but only if it doesn't exceed X feet in height?
That is completely within your prerogative to do with an SUP. So an SUP generally can make things more restrictive, but it can't undo pieces of the underlying code. It can't become less restrictive unless it's specified so.
And similarly, and this may or may not be a case for it, we could say, yes, this meets the 4 criteria, but only if you follow the residential proximity slope.
that is within your prerogative. Well, actually, let me clarify that a little bit, because, and this is something that DISD in particular asked, will you please double and triple check the reading of the code here? If we follow RPS, we would have to be careful about how we write that language, because as it's written right now, if you just say that it needs to be consistent with the residential proximity slope or comply with the residential proximity slope, there isn't one generated from an R10 lot to another R10 lot. So it's in compliance just by virtue of the fact that it's not part of the district standards. I'll go into that more maybe later, but the way the institutional overlay language reads, RPS would actually apply.
That was going to be my next question.
Yes.
Okay, but we could craft whatever height restriction we believed was necessary as long as we were careful in doing it.
Absolutely.
Now, I note that this is an elementary school, and I know there's some state limitations on how many sets of stairs you can make an elementary student climb, so it may or may not be an issue for this case, but if it were a high school, for example. All right, well, thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Commissioner Hampton.
Thank you. One similar question related to lot coverage. So lot coverage for institutional uses is allowed at 60%. As you were doing your evaluation of all the various PDs, is that typical for what schools are utilizing in terms of lot coverage?
No, they're typically much lower than that. The issue, I think, comes in, well, there's, I may call on the city attorney here for a minute because we've had some discussions about lot coverage, but no, they're typically coming in more in line with what is in the underlying codes. There isn't typically any reason to write a specific provision to keep them, you know, to a certain level because they're already kind of low on lot coverage. But it is interesting to note, and this is something I just learned, that if they build their new school under whatever criteria we put in place or recommend and ultimately gets approved, the city can't require them to demo, for example, the old school. So we might set it at, say, 30%, assuming that the old school is going to be demoed, but then that old school ends up staying, and they're not required right now to take that down. So lot coverage is a little bit fuzzy, I think.
Understood, and certainly I think we want to make sure there's flexibility, but was trying to understand how that was evaluated. And I guess I will just make an observation. I think there may be a math error in the project data table in the current site plan that we can talk about on November 3rd.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Blair.
I'm looking at the traffic management plan on this particular case.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. I'm kidding.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, I could hear you before.
I've never heard anyone say they couldn't hear me.
I hope David Navarez is on the line.
Maybe it is for David. I'm looking at the traffic management plan, and it appears as though that this traffic management plan is allowing queuing on Sonnet Drive.
Yes, I believe that is correct. I'm turning to that page.
And this is a new building, is that not correct?
Yes, it will be a new school.
So isn't in the design, could not the design be done where queuing is taken off of the public street right away and bring all of the queuing within the property?
That would be a great question for the applicant to explain maybe why they think it needs to be in the public right-of-way. Typically, we don't allow queuing in public rights-of-way, but that I'm not.
Then my question would be for you.
Yes.
Why would we approve this one if this is typically what we do not do and we're doing it here?
That would actually be a David Navarro's question.
David?
So let me say this too. One of the things that Commissioner Stannard and I discussed was the sort of the behind the scenes processes that go before a case gets to you all. The whole application obviously gets sent out to various departments, and we rely on those professionals for those trade areas to give us that feedback. And every traffic management plan goes through Mr. Navarez and then goes to various people in the transportation department to actually do the review of that management plan. Beyond that, I'm going to leave it to them and say, I am trusting the professionals that have given me this information.
I get that. But I'm going to continue, if I may.
Of course.
And last week, we saw a school that was 60 years old that had no choice. And whether we liked it or not, it had no choice. And for some strange reason, I've had a little experience with charter schools and TMPs and
Really,
non-compliance.
I hadn't heard that. I hadn't heard that.
I worked with some of my other commissioners, names to not be named, right, Commissioner Carpenter?
I thought you weren't naming names.
That when we look at, this appears that the approval process is being given to, or one hand, you're saying that with charter schools, we're acting differently than we do in public schools, and with DISD, it appears as though they're getting permissions that gives them an unfair advantage. They don't have rules that have to be followed that we're requiring private charter and daycares to follow. Why is that?
So part of the focus here too, that on this journey that staff has embarked upon is to be more consistent in things like that. And you'll notice that the other school case that was on the agenda today, the staff is recommending the same time period. They've gone through the same processes. Where possible, I think that it's important to be consistent. I think, I can't speak for any other planners and the cases that they've brought. I know that cases that I've brought before this point, I looked at kind of the history, what's typically been done, what's kind of, what type of time periods get recommended. And I made my recommendations based on that. Now that I am kind of involved in this reorienting and of the processes, I think I would make different staff recommendations, even on some of those other cases. If I were going to be consistent with what I'm presenting to you today, the staff recommendation on those would be different now too if I brought it to you now.
Commissioner Carpenter.
Ms. Algar, thank you. I realize you're in kind of a tough spot here, and I think you'd have been better served if we had had the briefing before we had these two cases land on the docket. But am I correct in assuming or deducing from these two cases that the standard recommendation now for schools is going to be 20 and 20?
That's what it is right now, but I think that you can expect to see very long time periods. And ultimately, the goal is to get our development code to work in a way and have side processes in place that can then follow up and support that so that schools wouldn't need to come back at all. And we're not there right now.
I was going to say, I think I consider that to be either incredibly naive or optimistic. I'm not sure which one.
So I am an eternal optimist, but I am realistic. I mean, I realize where I am today. I realize that, I knew very well that putting these two cases on the docket with 20 and 20 was going to, let's just say, spark some interest.
Yeah.
Right? So I knew that. The applicant knew that. We've had these discussions. We're prepared to have the discussions going forward, but this is, Commissioner Blair is often the one I hear saying, is this consistent? And if I'm, based on the meetings and the things that have occurred that got us to this point, to be consistent with where we've talked about that we're heading, I felt it was, it's more honest to put in the docket 20 and 20 to let you know this is where staff is heading, even though staff will readily admit we're not there yet at all. We have a lot of work to do, a lot of work to do.
I'll just say, I'm probably on the other side of the pond. I'm not an optimist. I'm more a battle-scarred pragmatist, but anyway. But what the 20 and 20 does is basically go 40 years without any public input. So, yeah, because they get the initial SUP, the school does, then there's an auto renewal at 20 years, and it's a pretty high bar for the public to have to present ballots of opposition representing 20% of the land area and the notification area. So, you know, so the staff does their review and kicks it forward another 20 years. So, I mean, to me, that is reflecting an assumption on the staff's part that any problem with the school for 40 years is going to be traffic related and can be addressed through updates to the traffic management plan. You know, my problem with that is, well, we don't always, I mean, we have many cases here, you know, week after week where traffic management updates have not been submitted.
Right.
And we also, that also implies that there's no public input needed at the time to evaluate these traffic management plans. You know, Mr. Navarez has all these traffic management plans that he's evaluating. But, you know, we routinely have cases where, you know, the public shows up and says, well, this is how it's supposed to be working, but it's not working over here. So I'm having great difficulty in seeing that this process is going to go for 40 years without public input. My other problem, you know, away from traffic management, is there are all kinds of things that can go off with schools. You know, we've had many cases where, not many, we've had some cases where staff has recommended adding athletic fields to school campuses on a minor amendment process. And, you know, athletic fields can cause problems. So once again, if you've got this 40 years without public input, I'm really struggling with the philosophy here. Now, I do understand where you're coming from with some standard exceptions that schools have to the underlying development code for R that we see: fencing, landscaping, encroachments, some height for the new kinds of storm shelters they have to build. So I can kind of see that, but this whole 20 and 20 without the public input, I'm not anywhere near there yet. So if you want to comment on that, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, I definitely hear where you're coming from. I know the concern is probably across the board to some degree. Again, we recognize that we have a lot of work to do. I would point out a couple of things, I guess, in response. One would be that if that is a concern that is, you know, the commission has just generally, I think that means, first of all, there should be no more PDs for schools, period, because PDs are permanent, right? So
That's the elephant in the room. Thank you for mentioning that.
Well, so, I mean, you'll see in these analyses that come through, I mean, there's a reason I'm asking, can this be done as an institutional overlay? Can it be done as an SUP? And if not, why not? Because that is definitely the direction we're steering. So, and that's not just schools. I mean, the way that it's been said is that staff will not recommend approval of a planned development district currently for schools, just because that's the conversation that I'm personally having. Staff will absolutely not recommend approval of a PD without compelling justification for not being able to comply with the underlying code and demonstrated benefit to the neighborhood for allowing that code or those codes to be put aside. So, for example, you know, we have a lot of PDs for schools come in, and again, I just want to reiterate, I'm not just talking about DISD. This is just across the board. The schools come in and they do a PD to get exceptions to our code without offering, I mean, there's an inherent benefit, obviously, in a school, like we're educating children. that's inherently there. But in terms of like the actual development code and what it's going to look like and where it's going to be sited and so on and so, there's not a lot of offer back. Like we're not getting an 8-foot sidewalk with an 8-foot buffer from a school. We need to break this code, this code, this code, this code, and then can we go build our school? And so I have described it as, in conversation, we're not going to give out PDs like candy. Like that's not, right? So that's where we're headed. So that would be the first thing, is that if that is a concern across the board with the commission, then I would say, if you think that schools need to come back ever, then PDs are out, because that's permanent. The other thing is that, well, two more things. One is staff needs to find processes that will allow that public input that we don't currently have. That we need to do a better job of accountability and having those things in place so that we don't have to rely on this forum to do all these things that it's not necessarily supposed to do. The other thing I would point out is that you mentioned they come back to do a minor for a stadium or whatever. It's not actually the case that a school doesn't come back until 20 or 40 years. If they want to do anything else on their property, I mean, we have a site plan in place and we have conditions in place. So if they go try to get a permit to build whatever, like in the DISD case that was here last week, I mean, they needed the batting cage that wasn't on a previous development plan. They had to come back and go through the whole process. And every time they come back to amend their site plan or their condition for an SUP, that's going to be a public forum and there will be input. And I can tell you that I got a lot of phone calls that really didn't have anything to do with that particular zoning case. Just, residents going, oh, there's something posted and here's a number I can call and have somebody listen to me. So they will come back anytime they need to change or alter the conditions that they get approved under. That's kind of important to note. But I just totally lost my train of thought. I'm just going to be real blunt. So, but that's my response to it.
Thank you. I understand that happens to me also. But, in response to your comment about not handing out PDs like candy, I don't want to see SUPs handed out like candy either, especially not a permanent supply of SUP candy, because
well, then let's move towards the institutional overlay then.
I'll wait for the November 3rd briefing, but I just wanted to say that, these long time periods are troublesome. Some of the biggest problems, it's not necessarily school-related, but, well, I have got one, but where they were given permanent SUPs to do something, because, I mean, to me, the SUP, if you're going the SUP process around originally, it's an implicit acceptance that you need conditions that it may fit now, but, and giving a permanent one is just, and to me, 40 years is, like what way, I mean, it might as well be permanent.
And I guess technically it could be 60 and 80, because if they keep,
right, it could be permanent. Right. I mean, it's a route to perpetuity without much, so that's my key problem is I want to see, I don't know what's coming on November 3rd, but there's got to be some kind of forum or mechanism that public input is built in, because it's not just traffic. I mean, traffic is the big thing that we listen to, but, an athletic stadium goes in and it sounds great, but the way it's working, if they have 365 days a year, whatever, that's my point. Thank you.
Completely understand.
Vice Chair Rubin.
I mean, obviously, it's at this body's discretion for whatever time periods. We're just,
Right, but this is our forum
Thank
to
you.
be allowed to discuss it.
Yes.
Vice Chair Rubin.
Great. Thank you so much, Ms. Allgaier, for an excellent presentation and taking a look at this issue with a fresh pair of eyes. Playing off one of the things that just came up in your discussion with Commissioner Carpenter, you mentioned that, PDs have unlimited term lengths, whereas for SUPs, there's a few, permanent SUPs, but most of them are for time period. How many new public school SUPs have we had in the last several years? I can't recall any. I think every public school that I've seen that's not a renewal of an SUP has been coming in as a PD.
I can't give you an exact number, but just in doing a quick glance at the PDs versus the SUPs do not, I mean, public schools do not tend to come as SUPs. There's many PDs that are for public schools.
Okay, great. And I know you're newer to the department, so let me just follow up with Dr. Udrea. Can you recall any new public school SUPs that we've had, and as long as you've been with the city?
You see, I would add the nuance here because I want to make this more complicated. Charter schools are public schools as well.
Non-charter school, let me qualify it.
I don't think so. I've looked, and especially for Dallas ISD in the last, I would say, I think I did a little bit of research earlier this year just for Dallas ISD in the past 10 years. I think we've done only PDs. We do have, I've done personally, and then we do have PDs for private schools as well, and for other ISDs, I know that there are SUPs.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, they've definitely tended, when I looked back at SUPs, it was predominantly childcare facility and private schools. I mean, that was the bulk of it, so.
Any other questions, commissioners?
Yes.
Yes, please, Commissioner Kingston.
Thank you. Okay, I just want to make sure I understand this. When you're talking about the institutional overlay, you're talking about 51-4.502?
It's 4.50 something, yes.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I don't have
I just
the
want to make sure I'm
reference.
looking at the right. Thank you.
Yes.
And mechanically, it would be an institutional overlay with an SUP?
No, it would actually be, the zoning part of it would be a general zoning change to have, let's say it was this property here. You have a school in an R10A, they would come in for a general zoning change to place the overlay on the property. And then, we're still working out the details, but as it's currently written, there would be a much more deep site plan review process that they would go through. We've talked about with them going through that with development services so that they get all the engineering feedback, all of the trades they normally get, and then they have to apply for approval of that site plan with the Plan Commission,
So it's an overlay process, just like any other?
just like any other.
All right.
Yes.
So going back to Commissioner Young's questions about RPS and light and sound, et cetera, if it doesn't include an SUP, how do you incorporate that into this zoning?
Well, that's part of what we're in conversation about is, I mean, on the one side, we're looking at what makes it not workable for the applicant, but certainly we're open to all feedback in terms of how this development code amendment happens.
Okay.
So it's not written yet, and so that's what we're working towards, is how can we make this something that's workable for the schools, but also makes elected and appointed officials comfortable with, you know, approving a school under that circumstance. Then the other part of it would be that very specific and detailed site plan
So
review.
Mary's working on that right now. And she's doing VA, and BOA did not do theirs in Registrar.
Is that the ghost of Christmas past?
The ghost of City Hall.
There's not going to be a list of conditions per se, because there's no SUP, but the site plan can determine a lot. So in other words, conditions can be placed by this body on the site plan that would limit the location of certain things, the height of certain things, and whatever else the code amendment allows.
Okay,
to
so
be
you
placed.
guys are anticipating updates to institutional overlay provisions?
100%.
Okay, so that's one of my questions. I'm not sure that I completely understand, and maybe this is something you can explain next, or November 3rd, and maybe just a suggestion, maybe a couple of examples of how it would work in a test case or something.
Okay.
But I'm not understanding, and you don't have to explain this now, you can do it November 3rd. I'm not understanding how the current overlay process would address some of the issues we frequently have to address with schools, and like lighting, sound, traffic. So that's a question that, you know, you can address with a PD that you can't with just this overlay, so how do we get there?
Okay.
Because to me, it seems like you're saying, well, we want to get away from PDs because they're, the unfavored child these days. And so we are trying to come up with all these other ways to not do the thing that the thing already does. And I'm not understanding, A, why that's better, other than somebody's, performance plan says get rid of PDs, ergo we get rid of PDs.
Okay, no, it doesn't say that, but.
But, so those are some questions that I think need to be answered in the briefing. I'm not saying that I'm against it. And I appreciate your candor in, your learning this and trying to, come up with new ways to do things that are more efficient, because we certainly could be more efficient at the City of Dallas. And I want things to work for schools, but I think what I'm hearing my fellow commissioners say, and I definitely agree with, is the adage that, neighborhoods need good schools and schools need to be good neighbors is true. Right. But depending on the neighborhood, you may not have the level of community support and activism and sophistication and resources to take on some of these behemoths that other neighborhoods might be able to. So our processes need to be across the system for all of the city, not just the Fighting 14.
Right. 100% agree.
Okay.
And then, certainly any code amendments that would, they're definitely going to come through here. So we're just at the beginning phases of this. And like I said, we have a lot of work to do. So all input is appreciated.
And my last question, the focus of our discussion has been on public schools. Are you also intending to apply this to non-public charter schools and private schools?
Yes.
Okay. That makes it even more problematic in some ways.
All right. That's like I said, we're very, very much at the beginning, and that is the intention at this point when we start from a place of let's be consistent. But as we get into the process, if other things evolve or other circumstances come out of that say we can't treat this exactly like this because of this thing, that it could certainly evolve out of the process. I'm open at this point, open book.
Okay.
But
Well,
that's the
thank you.
intention. Yes, ma'am.
I have one more question.
Please.
Yeah. And thank you so much for this presentation. It's been unbelievably informative. And then just everyone's line of questioning is putting the way I learn. I'm sort of an independent learner. I read, process, and then I listen for confirmation of my thought or contradiction of my thought, and then go ask questions. And I'm happy I understand what's happening right now. So that's the first thing. My question is, so I think they mentioned it, 20 years seems like a long time, 10 years I can process, but my question in between that is, am I to understand whether it's 10 or 20 or 5, there is a requirement for them to come back on a traffic study, or help me put those two pieces together if you can.
So I would refer you to the conditions that are proposed for this particular site are on pages 8 through 10 of the case report. So one of those conditions talks about traffic management plan. And so the traffic management plan basically says you have to have a traffic management plan, and then you need to submit an initial traffic study by a certain date to evaluate the sufficiency of the traffic management plan. And then it basically says if it's sufficient, then this happens. If it's not, then you have to give us a new traffic management plan. And then that goes through the back and forth review process. Now, the way that new traffic management plan would be approved would be through the minor amendment process. But either way, it's going to come back here. So before it gets officially amended, it has to be approved here.
But given like the conversation we had last week, if it's a 10-year and there's no issue or there is an issue, what prompts that particular discussion again? Would it be not for another 10 years? I guess I'm trying to get to.
So the initial traffic study is due at a certain date. It's typically about 2 years after the approval. And then every X number of years.
Got it,
They
okay.
need to keep submitting updates to the traffic study.
And that's what you were saying. If they do not, then that's where you can come tattle.
Right.
And then would that be our opportunity to then go back and review, or are we only just focused on the traffic study piece?
If it's related to traffic, it's just about the
Right.
traffic study piece.
Got it, okay.
Yes.
All right.
But I'm a little bit hesitant to say this because I know we have a lot of work to do in this area too, but we have a code compliance department. And the 311 system is designed to take input from residents when things aren't going right. And one of the things that staff does when we get phone calls about these cases and there are all these concerns, we reiterate to community members that it's not tattling per se. If you call 311 and say, first of all, they have to know what the traffic management plan is, so we need to make that available. But if that's available and they look at the traffic management plan and they say, this school is not following this and this is not working because they're blocking my driveway and all this other stuff is going on, the thing they need to do is they need to get a record of that problem in the system by calling 311. I'm not saying that's the end-all be-all solution because I think right now code compliance might not really even know what to do with these traffic management plan and they haven't submitted the study because the process isn't in place. So we're working on that, but we need to get that record of the problems that the residents are having, whether it's about traffic or if it's about lights or, I mean, I live in a neighborhood that has a school on one side and it has a stadium on the other. And I mean, the other night I could hear the loudspeaker. I mean, we had the doors closed, the AC running, the TV on, and I heard them like they were sitting next to me. And I mean, there needs to be somebody that folks can call when something like that is happening. And so 311 is the place to get it recorded because then when any check happens, whether it's back on auto renewal or a traffic study, one of the things that department does, just as a matter of course, they will check with code compliance to say, have we had any complaints about this site? If we don't have any complaints about the site, it's difficult for staff then to come back and say, well, we need to change this thing and this thing because there's not been a problem. So, but that process is something that's very much needed and being worked on.
Okay, so, and forgive me, I don't know how to ask these questions just yet. And I've been on the side, so I'm not trying to, if it comes out this way, that's not what it's meant to do.
Okay.
So 5-year, 10-year, 20-year, the reason you're comfortable with moving to a 20-year auto renewal or something like that is because if there's something that goes wrong, the community will notify the city. Is that the general science?
I am saying, staff is saying that what we're doing here at this forum is reviewing the proposal and saying, do we have the conditions in place and is everything on paper, does it look like this is going to allow that school to be a good neighbor and function as it should respectfully in the neighborhood?
Day
I'm
one,
saying
yes.
that right now, we're having to kind
Sure.
of see into the future, that's the assessment that we're making here today.
Right.
Is this proposal probably going to be a good thing? Is it probably going to work? I'm comfortable with the staff recommendation as it is and moving to whatever else it becomes because I'm going to trust the processes that are either already in place or we're working on getting in place. I said, we're not there yet. I heard somebody kind of guffaw over here. I don't want to say anything. I should mention that I was a high school teacher for 18 years, so I have eyes all around and ears
God bless you.
everywhere. And so,
I'm
but that's
getting
one
real
of the reasons
educational vibes from you too.
I'm very, very passionate about this because, I mean, I'm a teacher. So, so I'm trusting the professionals that we have in the city to put the processes in place that can follow up on the recommendation that's made by CPC and that gets approved or not by council ultimately. So I'm just saying, we need to just be very intentional about focusing on what our role is here, and that is to assess the proposal.
Great. Couple of very quick questions for you before we take a break. Your research, you stated that roughly 20% of all PDs are for schools.
Headed that way. I haven't-
Yes, planned development districts. What's the time limit on a PD?
Zero.
Zero.
I mean, no,
Does
it's
this body
indefinite.
not pass schools as PDs like almost every 2 weeks?
Like candy.
Yeah. In fact, did council not just yesterday vote in a school as a PD in D1? Yeah,
Happens
correct.
all the time.
Thank you very
Regularly, as a
much.
matter of course.
Okay. Commissioners, it's 11:05 a.m. Let's take a 10-minute break. And just for the record, Commissioner Popkin joined us today, 9:30 a.m. Good morning. Let's take a 10-minute break.
Am I dismissed?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much. Excellent job.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Commissioners, please take your seats. It's 11:15. We're looking to go back on the record. That coffee back there. We need 2 more commissioners for quorum, folks. 12. Yeah. We have 7.
I'll be here for the moment for the quorum.
Yes, thank you. 7, 8. We have 8. Commissioners, we are back on the record. It is 11:17, and let the record reflect that Commissioner Guillaume has a conflict on case number 9 and is stepping out of the chamber. Mr. Pepe, good afternoon, sir. Well, still good morning.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
We can.
All right. Z212247 is the next item. It's an application for a new sub-area on property zone sub-area 1 within Plan Development District number 298, the Bryan Area Special Purpose District, located on the east corner of Ross Avenue and Caddo Street. It's 7,200 square feet, located off of Ross. And this is the subject property as it exists. It is built out as a structure at this time that they intend to reuse. And Ross Avenue is the frontage on the front of the property. And to the northeast of the property, there's retail. To the southeast, there's townhomes. To the south, there's offices. To the southwest, there's a restaurant. To the west, there's a medical clinic and a laundry store. The applicant is proposing an animal clinic or shelter use in the existing structure. The existing property consists of a 5,000 square foot structure, which is currently under renovation, and some surface parking. The applicant is requesting to create a new sub-area to specifically allow the animal clinic or shelter use without outside runs. The existing sub-area 1 along Ross Avenue is generally a commercial and mixed-use district. The applicant is only modifying the allowable uses of sub-area 1 and is not proposing any significant changes to the development standards of sub-area 1. This is the site from Caddo Street, looking north at the property. And this is on Ross, looking southeast as the property as it exists today. And from the retail parking lot to the northeast, looking back at the property. And this is looking down Caddo Street towards the townhomes. And this is looking east at the parking lot as it exists to the north, and the restaurant to the south. And that's the clinic at Patty Corner from this property. So here are the development standards for PD 298 Subdistrict 1, Sub-Area 1, that is to say, and they're not modifying the development standards. They did add voluntarily a lower height limit for this particular parcel voluntarily, and they're adding in that animal clinic or shelter use. And simply they're adding this use into the uses section and specifying specifically that it is permitted by right in sub-area D1D. This is typically a use that would be permitted by right in the CR community retail district. And so they've taken essentially verbatim the use definition, and they've put it into here, into the PD, and defined it under sub-area 1D. So staff recommendation is approval, subject to revised exhibits 298A, 298B, 298F, and conditions.
Thank you, Mr. Pepe. Questions? Commissioner Stanek.
I have a weird question, Mr. Pepe. Okay, when it says without outside runs, how do you have animals, even at a vet hospital, that don't have to go outside and poop? So there's no kind of,
Yeah, I would, this is not a code definition or anything, but I would understand this is not for long, in this case, it wouldn't be for long-term visiting of the dogs. So this with the definition of the outdoor runs use is one that exists in the code. So we have an animal clinic with outdoor runs and one without. Those are two different uses in the codes. But I don't know necessarily where they would where they would do that activity.
I like that activity. Commissioner Hampton.
Thank you. I just had one follow-up question. We had received a comment asking actually a similar question about how the animals on site will be accommodated. Did you receive any public input or community information regarding that, or how the site is intended to be operated?
I didn't receive any information in that regard.
Okay, thank you.
I didn't receive that particular comment personally.
Thank you, Mr. Pepe. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Housereich.
Mr. Pepe, the report, and I believe your remarks indicated that they will be complying with the parking requirements at 1 to 300. When I look at this site, it's not clear to me how they do that. I guess I could just take it on faith that that will happen, but maybe you could enlighten me a little bit how they get 16 or so spaces on this.
They are going to be required to meet the base parking requirement as we stated in the use definition. My understanding is that they plan to set up a parking agreement with the property to the northeast. There's a large parking lot right adjacent to the property that they're going to set up an agreement with.
Any other questions, Commissioners? Okay, we'll keep moving. Like the record reflect, Commissioner Young is stepping back into the chamber. Ms. Munoz. Good afternoon. Good morning still.
Hi, good morning, everybody. How are you today?
Good morning.
I should have everything up now. Can you see my screen? Can everybody see my presentation at this time?
We can see the first page.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much. This is Z212265, and it's an application for a specific use permit for a child care facility. The property is currently zoned a multifamily district, and there's an existing SUP for a home for the aged, which was granted a permanent time period. The purpose of this request is to renovate one of the existing structures on the property to provide what the applicant is calling an employee-only child care facility. The overall campus is over 26 acres. And here we see the general location of the site. And here we're looking at it. It's fronting along Ann Arbor Street. Excuse me, Ann Arbor Avenue. And we have Marcellus to the east. And here's a zoning map showing that subject site. And then to the north, we have a single family district and single family uses. To the east, we have additional single family, and there are SUPs there as well for a daycare center that was also established in Chapter 51. And then there's a church and an auto service center use to the north, or it's actually on the east, but on the north side of the east. To the south of the subject site, we have additional R75. There is a floodplain that has a park there, the 5 Mile Park. And then there's additional single-family uses and a multifamily use as well that's located to the southwest in the multifamily district. And then there's a regional retail district further to the southwest, which has other restaurants, automotive-related, and a hotel use. To the west, we have another R75A district with 2 SUPs that are operating open enrollment or charter schools and a child care facility under those 2 SUPs. So this site was originally developed back in 1973 under Chapter 51, which required an SUP for a home for the aged, which is now considered a convalescent or nursing home, hospice care, or related institution use, which is actually now allowed by right in this district. However, since they're still in operation and they're not amending anything, they are continuing to operate under that existing permanent SUP, and it's not a part of the current request. They're not changing anything on that old site plan or any of those other conditions of operation for the home for the aged. Instead, they're just seeking to provide an on-site childcare facility, and it is for employees of the home for the aged operation. However, there's no SUP conditions or way for the city to actually limit the people or the users for that childcare facility, and we've based our recommendation solely on the land use of whether a childcare facility is okay or it's a good use for this site. The new use would operate within an existing 1,700 square foot structure on the west end of the property, and I'll show you that on the site photos as well as on the site plan that exists and the proposed plan as well. So we're looking south from Ann Arbor Avenue onto the property. And then we'll move into some interior photos in just a moment. This is the unit that they would be using for the childcare facility. And there are several of those on the west end. They're cottages is what they're called on the original site plan. So one of those cottages will be used for the childcare facility as proposed. Now here are the surrounding land uses. We're on the west side. So this is an open enrollment or charter school, and also a church use and a childcare facility. Those are the 2 SUPs. Single family uses across Ann Arbor to the north. And now the auto-related uses that are to the east. Other retail uses and auto-related uses to the east. Now we're traveling south on Marsalis, and this is to the west of the subject, east of the subject site. So those are other church uses, and then the 5 Mile Park that I mentioned. Here is the existing SUP site plan for the home for the aged. North is to the right on this plan, and this is the area containing those little cottages, and one of the cottages here is the one that's going to be used. As noted here on this new site plan, as proposed for the childcare facility, it'll be this one right here. And I've enlarged that for you both here as well as in the case report so that you can look more closely at that. They're proposing to maintain the parking that's being used there for the cottage. They would use it and it would be sufficient for the childcare facility as I've broken down in the parking requirements of the case report. Here are the proposed SUP conditions. It would be solely for the childcare facility. As I noted, there is no way for us to restrict it to specific users for the childcare facility. We are only restricting it to the actual land use and the time period compliant to the site plan, the floor area, and they've also noted some fencing area and an enclosed play area on the site plan with a 5-foot fence, and those items are all shown there. So staff recommendation is for approval for a 5-year period with eligibility for automatic renewals for additional 5-year periods subject to the site planning conditions as presented in the
I'm
document.
looking this way. Thank you very much, Ms. Munoz. Questions, commissioners? Any questions on this item? No questions. Thank you, Ms. Munoz.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Mulkey. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, commissioners. Okay, the case I have for you today is Z212-272. The request is for an R5A single-family district on property zoned to CR Community Retail District. It's located on the north line of Noma Street, west of Puget Street, and it's about 0.13 acre. Location map showing the property within city limits. Aerial map with the area of request outlined in blue. Zoning map with surrounding zoning districts and land uses. So the property, as I said, is currently zoned as CR district. To the east, northeast, and north are other properties currently zoned as CR district. North is a church. Northeast along Puget is personal service use. There's also another church directly east of the property across Puget Street. The lot immediately east of this is currently undeveloped. And then further out from there to the east, west, south, north is a single family neighborhood zoned R5A. So the property is currently zoned as CR district and it's undeveloped. The applicant requests an R5A district to allow a single family home to be constructed on the property. As I said, other property along Puget Street is currently zoned as CR district, but a majority of the surrounding neighborhood is R5A today. So this requested district is in line with most of the surrounding zoning in the area. Site photos, this is on Noma Street looking north at the front of the lot in question. And surrounding uses, we're just kind of going in a counterclockwise direction. So this is on Noma Street looking northwest. It's some of the single family to the west of this lot. Looking on the south side of Noma Street, you can see more single family homes. It's directly south of the lot. Also south of the lot, and then we're looking to the east, kind of at Nomus and Puget. You can see some more homes, and then now we are getting into the property that's currently zoned as CR district. You can see there's a church. That is the lot immediately east of this property, and then moving further up north on Puget Street, you can see some of the personal service uses and other properties zoned as CR district today. And then this is the church north of the lot in question. These are the development standards of the existing CR district as well as the proposed R5A district. Obviously, this would be a down zoning, so the development standards are a lot more restrictive. It would be one dwelling unit per 5,000 square feet in terms of residential density. 30-foot height rather than 54 feet in height, 45% lot coverage rather than 60%, and obviously this district would allow for single family uses rather than the commercial uses that are allowed there today. With that, staff's recommendation is approval.
Questions, Commissioner Young?
Mr. Melky, I want to focus on the CR lot undeveloped to the east of the property. Am I right that whereas changing the subject property to R75, or excuse me, R5, will have a theoretical impact on the residential proximity slope as applied to the lot to the east? Practically speaking, because of the shape of that lot and the existing proximity slope coming from the south, there will be little actual practical impact?
You are correct, yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Carpenter?
Seeing no other questions, Mr. Mulkey, are you aware that with this case, your unbroken record of never maintaining a case on the consent agenda might be broken?
I know, you guys can take it off.
I was going to mention that. And only one case on the docket as well. Mr. Mulkey's going to get spoiled here. Any other questions, commissioners? Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Mulkey.
Thank you.
Okay, commissioners, we just have one item left. Ms. Dunn, are you online, and do you have a briefing for this item? Oh. Yes, ma'am. Good morning. think this is your first time with us, Ms. Dunn. Welcome. I saw you come in earlier this morning. Didn't know if you were a customer or glad to know you're on staff. You might have to pull that little microphone closer to you, please.
Push.
That's it. Perfect. Thank
That will
you.
work. Okay. I'm representing case Z212-256 LVO. Basically, I'm Dr. Rhonda Dunn, Senior Planner with the Office of Historic Preservation. And I have no clue why it's doing this, but okay. What we are requesting is an application for a historic overlay for the Jackson residence at 10260 Straight Lane. It's currently zoned as R-1AC-A, Single Family District. And our current request will not change the current land use. The area of request is 5.281 acres, and the location of the subject property is on the east side of Straight Lane, north of Walnut Hill Lane. To date, what's been done on the processes, or with respect to this process, is we have held a public hearing. The Landmark Commission held it on November 1st, 2021, in order to initiate the process. The Design or Designation Committee met. They met once to go over the nomination form and the associated preservation criteria. They approved it in one setting, and that was March 16th, 2022. The Landmark Commission, it was brought back before the Landmark Commission April 4th.
Excuse me, are you supposed to be showing a presentation?
Yes, I am supposed to be showing one. Thank you for letting me know. Okay, I did say share. Jason, is there something else I need to be doing? Okay. Yes, I am sorry. It seems as if my WebEx shut off.
It's showing now.
Okay. Thank you, Jason. Okay, maybe I need to use this computer. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, this is an aerial map of the area. It shows that the property in question is approximately 10 miles northwest of City Hall, and it's also northwest of Preston Hollow. It actually shares a corner with Preston Hollow. Next, please. Okay, this is more or less a close-up of the property. As I mentioned earlier, it's on the east side of the street of Straight Lane. The property in question is identified by the blue polygon, and as you can see, it's situated between two residential properties, one to the right and one to the left. The one to the, north from the picture, it kind of dwarfs the property, and actually both properties are owned by the same owner on both sides of the existing subject property I am referring to today. Next. Okay, with respect to zoning, the current zoning is R1AC-A, single family, minimum 1 acre district residential. So that's the hashed area, and it shows that to the east of the property is a tributary of the Trinity River known as Bachman Creek or Bachman's Branch. Next. Okay, this basically just shows the current land use of the area. That entire area is R-1AC A, single-family residential, minimum 1 acre. Next. Okay, these are just some photos of the surrounding area. So this is if you're standing in front of the property and looking north toward Royal Lane on in front of the subject property. Again, it's single-family residential. Next. And this is if you're standing in front of the property and you're looking south toward Walnut Hill Lane. Again, single-family residential. So that's southwest of the subject property. Next slide, please, Jason. Okay, this is actually at the corner of Walnut Hill and Straight Lane. As you can see, that's basically a no-build zone because that's actually where the creek kind of crosses the street. Next. And this is the west side of the street. Oh, okay. This is, I'm actually standing, let's see if I can close this here so I can see it closer. Okay, this, I'm actually standing in front of the property and I'm facing Dorset Street. So Dorset Street is west of the property and it too is single-family residential. So that entire area is single-family residential, 1 acre minimum. Next slide, please. Okay, background and history of the property. Next slide. Okay, the Jackson residence, the date of construction is circa 1939. DCAD and some other sources I looked at said 1937, but the general consensus is circa 1939. The period of significance for the subject property is 1939 through 1968. That period covers the first owners, which were the Jacksons, as well as the second owners, which were the Austins. The style of the property is French eclectic, kind of like the French country-style home on a horizontal with a hipped roof. The architect is Dallas architect Hal O. Yoakum. He was actually a contemporary of our national treasure, architect O'Neill Ford. The original owners of the property for whom he designed the property were Thomas E. and Virginia Fall Jackson. The footprint, the original footprint of the property was a modified Greek cross, you know, with one long arm and then the two shorter arms. The foundation of the property is concrete pier on beam. The exterior walls are fine ashlar cut stone veneer, limestone. The roof is a hipped roof, and the material of the roof, let me see if I can say this correctly, is Ludowici. Of course, you can correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, Ludowici tile, which is a terracotta. And then the number of stories on the front facade or the front elevation, you'll see 2, but on the back, to take advantage of the topography, you'll actually see an above ground basement. So on the back of the property, which is the east side of the property facing the creek, you'll see the above ground basement and 2 higher stories, so it looks like 3 stories rather, on the eastern side of the property. Next slide, please. Okay, this is the original front or western facade of the property, the blueprint for it. It's kind of hard to see, but the reason why I wanted to show you is because now the property has a garage which was originally detached, a detached 3-car garage, but now it's been connected. So it's kind of hard to envision what the front facade or the west facade looked like without looking at the original blueprint, okay? And here you can kind of see the French eclectic style. Next. Okay, oh, this is much smaller than I thought it was gonna be. Okay, all right. This is a Sam's map from 1900, and basically what I was attempting to show here, because we're on historic context, is that the property was originally a part of the Peters Colony, settled in the 1840s, And the land that was granted here was granted to M.F. Fortner. And so that's what's in the red rectangle. And I don't know if you can see the three rectangles inside, the three black rectangles inside of the red rectangle. Those are actually properties owned by the Straits. So on this map, if it's a triangle, it's a rental property. If it's a rectangle, a black rectangle, it's an owned property. So originally, and that's where the street obtained its name, originally 3 rectangular properties were owned on that plot of land by the Straits. And the Straits' names were Jesse H. Strait, Uric Strait, but we're not sure of the spelling, and William Strait. And those rectangles from north to south correspond to those 3 names, Jesse, Uric, and William Strait. Okay? Yes, I'm sorry, it wasn't bigger. It was bigger last night, I promise you. Next slide, please. Okay, these are some houses that were designed by Hal O. Yoakum. He was born in 1900, passed away in 1961. These properties that you're looking at, they are in the Highland Park area. Within the Dallas city area proper, Mr. Yoakum designed over 100 homes, and they were mainly in Highland Park, University Park, and Preston Hollow. And as I said before, these 3 are in Highland Park. Next slide, please. Okay, with respect to the original owner of the property, Mr. Thomas Elbert Jackson, born in 1881, passed away in 1972. He moved to Dallas from Kansas City, Missouri in 1907. In terms of his professional life, he was a regional manager for Pittsburgh Plate and Glass, where he worked for over 62 years. But he has significance to Dallas for his volunteerism. He was elected to the Dallas Chamber of Commerce director's position in 1911, and he served in that position for 25 years. And during his tenure, he was instrumental in securing the property for Love Field Airport. And so that's an area of Love Field Airport in the upper left-hand corner. He also was the president of the State Fair of Texas from 1929 to 1931, and during that time, he was instrumental in the construction of the Cotton Bowl as well as the livestock arena. So the bottom photograph is of the Cotton Bowl in 1993, the Cotton Bowl Stadium. In 1947, he was elected as the first president of the Greater Dallas Planning Council, and in 1951, he was elected president of the Dallas Citizens Council. He also served on many other boards and many other committees within the Dallas area. Next slide, please. Okay, this is not a picture of, I tried and tried, could not find an older picture of Jackson residence in black and white, an earlier picture. This is just a picture representative of the American Country House movement, which was a social movement. Houses we might be familiar with that were built during that time would be like the Biltmore Estate in North Carolina, okay? So the purpose was, or what was happening at that time was infrastructure was being extended to rural areas. For instance, water, electricity, also roads, and also the automobile became popular during this time. So therefore, people could work in the city, as Mr. Jackson did. He worked in what was called the Santa Fe building, but they could live in the country, okay? And Preston Hollow, which was annexed by Dallas in 1945, it is designed or based upon the American Country House movement as well. And so, and the other importance of Jackson residence is it's the first actual residence, in other words, home built for living, as opposed to a farmhouse in that area. So our belief is that the Straits were there as farmers and that the Jacksons purchased the property from the Straits or a relative of the Straits and then turned the farm area into a country living or estate style area. Next, please. Okay, yes. All right. These are, I'll read them to you because it's hard to see. These are the criteria by which we judge a property to be eligible for local designation, and there's a total of 10 criteria. You have to meet 3 for us to consider it and start or initiate the process. In the case of the Jackson residence, it meets 7 criteria out of 10. It meets history, heritage, and culture. It meets having connection to a significant person. It meets architectural style requirements. It meets a requirement for the architect or having been built or designed by a master builder. It meets the requirement for historic context. It meets the requirement for a unique visual feature or features. And it also meets the requirement for providing historic education regarding the development of Dallas proper or as a whole. Next slide, please. This is the zoning, the ordinance exhibit map prepared by GIS for us. Basically, it shows to the west of the property, which is in front of the property because the property faces west. That's a no-build zone. And what is there is a unique landscape feature. That's a grove of pecan trees, 4 rows deep. And then you have the yard of the house and the house. Also, you see that toward the back of the house, toward the creek, there have been additional accessory structures added, like a party barn, a pool, and a cabana. Those aren't part of the period of historic significance, but we're asking for an historic overlay for the entire property. Next. Next. Okay, this is a picture of the property. This shows existing conditions. This is the west facade, the front of the property. And as you see, the left side of my screen, that's the 3-car garage with dormers. And you see in between that and the main house, there's a 4th dormer. Well, that space was empty prior to 2003. In 2003, it was infilled and turned into a maid's quarters. So originally, the garage and the house were not connected. Okay? Next. Okay, this is the rear facade of the property. This is the east side of the property that faces Bachman Creek. And this is where you can see the 3 stories. You can see the above-ground basement and the 2 stories above it. And the area of the house with the Juliet balconette, that's actually the master bedroom, okay, or the balcony to the master bedroom. Also on the back, there was a sleeper porch to the, I guess it would be, to the left. To the left, that was a sleeper porch on the 2nd level of the property, and the sleeper porch has since been closed in. So those are the major changes to the house. It has a high degree of architectural integrity. The major changes are the infill between the garage and the main house or the front facade, and the enclosure of the sleeper porch on the eastern rear facade. Next slide, please. Okay, this is a picture to the top of the pecan grove in front of the house. And then at the bottom, that's the unique porch, 1-story porch entrance to the house. It's at a 45-degree angle. It faces southwest. And okay, that's all I have to say on that one. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, this is just a close-up of the south side of the house, 2nd-story balcony, okay, or left side of the house, 2nd-story balcony. Next slide, please. Okay, the staff recommendation is to approve subject to preservation criteria, And then the next slide, please, Jason, which I think is my last slide. Okay, yes, the last slide is the Landmark Commission's recommendation. Their recommendation was to approve subject to preservation criteria and with design committee edits that were recommended to the nomination form and the ordinance along with the preservation criteria. Those edits that the design committee recommended or requested, they have been made. They are included in your case report. Are there any questions?
Thank you very much, Dr. Dunn. Questions, commissioners? Commissioner Hampton.
Thank you. Dr. Dunn, I just want to thank you for the excellent presentation and history of this house and its significance. Is it correct that the owner is in full support of this designation?
Yes, the owner was actually the one who brought the designation to us, and she also hired esteemed local preservation architect Nancy McCoy to prepare her nomination form.
Thank you, and I believe they're both signed up to speak today, so we'll look forward to this. Thank you, Dr. Dunn. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Young.
Is the staff in support of the Landmark Commission edits? I'm here.
Okay, all right. What's your question, please?
Is the staff in support of the Landmark Commission edits?
Yes, the staff is in support of the Landmark Commission edits. And the edits were minor. It was more or less typos, numbering the figures in the application, making sure the bibliography was correct, that type of thing. And we've done all that.
Thank you. Any other questions, commissioners? Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Dunn.
Thank you.
Look forward to seeing you this afternoon. Commissioners, that brings our briefing to a close. It is 11:57 a.m. Let's take our lunch break and be back online at 12:30 for the hearing.